This week in Ken's Tech Lab, we're going to be talking resin. Yes, resin for first time with Ken's Tech Lab, and we're going to be unboxing the Elegoo Jupiter 6K. Stay tuned. Welcome back, everybody, to Ken's Tech Lab. And this week with the resin printing, I brought back our guest, Jessy. Hey, Jessy.
Nice to see you again, Ken.
Welcome back.
Nice
it was,
to see you.
You know, it was like just like last week when you were here, and you know why you're here?
Resin.
Resin.
It is.
Yes.
I've been doing this for a while now, actually.
Yes, I have not put my what they say my toe into the resin world yet, and it's time to get there.
And I see you picked quite the printer to do that with.
You know my problem, right?
I do know your problem, as we stated last time.
You know, 400. I always figured more is better. You know, the bigger you can print something, the better it's going to be. So that's why I always go for the biggest of whatever I can find. This printer right here started on Kickstarter last year. It actually went above and beyond what Elegoo planned for their amount of funding that they needed for this printer. And they actually gave out to the Kickstarter people, they gave out special kits that would come with all your tools for the resin printing.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and that was pretty nice of them because they went so far beyond their
it's interesting. I've actually seen a lot of Kickstarter printers lately, even from big companies like Elegoo. Anycubic did one. It seems to be a common trend.
It is, and I don't understand, because Kickstarter is supposed to be for a company that doesn't have enough money to get that product off the ground.
Do you think it's a way to show interest in it, see if people are interested in the device before they release it?
Maybe, but I've been seeing the Kickstarters come online when they're pretty well in their fourth, they're ready to go ahead and go into production with them. Yeah. They're not doing, you know, R&D, you know, like the beginning. Take that printer, for instance, which is off camera right now, but it's the Anchor, thank you. The Anchor M5. And that was Kickstarter, and you know how long ago I purchased that. And it took them over a year to actually get it out for me, and I did a video on that, the unboxing and the first print. So I don't know what Kickstarter is doing right now. I think it is just a way to get publicity. I think
it is. I think that's what they're using it for, because Elegoo is a great brand.
Elegoo's been around for a long time, and we know that they have the money they didn't need Kickstarter to get this off the ground. But they used it.
Well, I'm excited to dive into this today. I've never seen a 6K or worked with a 6K printer, or one of this magnitude either. Yeah, you know, I could have went for a smaller one and had it 8K, but it just wasn't big enough. See, mine's a 10-inch 4K.
Yeah.
And I used to print figurines and things like that. But I can definitely see the potential of that extra large plate being able to perform engineering type things on a much larger scale. So I'm kind of excited to see this.
Well, you know what they say, that, you know, you can print as many things on one plate and it doesn't take any more time to print.
That is one of the biggest advantages of resin over FDM.
So a large plate will let me put many things on there.
For instance, a while ago I was going to print little tiny pieces of something, and it was going to take an FDM roughly 9 hours to print all 50 of them at once. And putting it in the resin, it printed in like 2.5 hours. So because it can do all of them at the same time.
Did you get a time limit on that, on one of those things instead of 50 things on the build plate, to see how long one would have took?
No, yeah, I'd have to do the math.
Exactly.
But what I'm referring to, though, is the fact that this is very good for printing many of the same item in a very fast manner.
Because it doesn't care.
You know? Exactly.
Well, let's get this unboxed. At least get them looking at this big printer, and then we'll go from there.
Let's do it.
Okay.
Oh, heavy thing.
It's a little heavy.
Now this has a metal shell on it, right?
All metal.
Okay.
I think I was watching something that all of Elegoo's other printers are 80% plastic. No, I think it's this.
Is it this? Ah. There we go. Yep.
Ooh. Wow.
Bottom piece. So it's wrapped in that on the bottom.
Well, you know that we can actually cut that, right?
Yeah, I was thinking about that.
Let's bring this whole thing back up on the table.
Okay.
And then, so I don't have the second camera out right now. I don't think I'll need it too. So,
wow, this thing is looking beautiful. Okay, so we can lift this off.
and then kind of slide the...
Yeah. All right. Slide that down.
And put this back up.
Okay, this is definitely a two-person printer. This is not a one-person printer. I'm going to tell you that right now.
Throw that over there. It's
I think it's on your side that it starts, the wrapping. Or maybe it's up here. There it is.
all right. I think they didn't want this to be hurt.
No, and yeah, honestly, with the weight of it, I don't blame them.
Because you never know what shipping
Yeah.
is going to do.
This thing is easily 50, 60 pounds.
It is 60.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to try to put this over in the center a little bit more, and then we can get on each side of it.
Sure.
All right, what do we have on the inside of this thing?
Well, let's take a look here. So it's a nice frosted door here. We have packing.
Ah,
Lots
that might
of
be
packing.
just a big print.
Could be.
Oh.
Maybe they're hiding something from us. Ooh. Is that the toolkit you're referring to?
Maybe they extended it on to everybody.
Let's take a look. Oh. Jupiter Toolbox.
We're not talking about a kit, we're talking about a box.
And look at that. Look what they included with this. An actual filter system.
Wow.
This is quite a nice little kit. So we'll
bring it
at
up
that.
in front of everybody and show everybody each piece of that.
Oh, what do we got? Ooh, FEP. You know, mine didn't come with FEP.
FEP?
Yeah, it did not come with it, and so we'll talk about what that is later.
How many does it come with?
2.
Oh, wow.
Makes me wonder though, do we have to put our own on?
I don't know. I heard it's expensive.
They are, quite. And we'll talk about the different types of FEP as well. And there's your build plate. Very heavy thing. Very large build plate. This leveling looks interesting. I have never seen a leveling like this
Turn that
before.
around, let the camera see this.
So this is a different type of leveling here. So I'm sure we're going to have fun with that.
It looks like that.
The one thing with resin is
curve.
I think it's going to be. Because the one thing with resin, if you look at this, there's a lot of springs involved here. Most resin printers are very simple in their leveling. It's not like an FDM. You undo a couple screws, tell the printer to level, it sets down, tighten those screws up and you're done. But here I see springs and a lot more screws.
Yes.
So that's going to be interesting. Okay. Ooh.
Is it like Christmas again?
Sort of.
Okay.
Ooh. There we go. I want to grab that last one.
This should be on the actual build plate. I mean, not the build plate. the I keep on forgetting it's upside down. The build plate's on top, where the resin.
And that is a massive vat. Wow. And it looks like the sticker is stuck to there, so we're probably have to take this whole thing out. So it looks like I got all the packing out. There should be a quick start guide somewhere. I think it's
right there.
Huh?
That right there.
Take out the resin tank, fill loose. Okay, so this is going to be how we're going to level it.
One screw.
Those are massive screws.
Two screws. All right.
Oh, good. It comes with an FEP already on it, so we're not
Yes.
going to have to do that. That's quite nice.
Well, we unboxed it, and it's big, it's heavy, and it comes with a lot of stuff inside.
I like this toolkit that it came with.
Yeah, I've never seen anything come with a full-size toolkit before.
Mine did not come with this. I can tell you that right now.
Jeez. So I'm gonna let Jesse take over here and actually go over everything with you guys.
Well, so before we start anything with resin, Ken, one of the most important things to understand, resin is volatile. It is toxic. Humans are allergic to it, okay? A lot of people try to get into resin without understanding the importance and safety of resin.
How important is it to be safe around resin?
I have yellow tape around my resin printer.
Okay.
My daughter, I trained right away as soon as it came in on all of the safety. Resin is naturally allergic for humans. It's a natural allergy. And you don't start off that way, but you will become allergic the more you get it on your hands, the more you touch it. No, I would not suggest doing that. Smelling it, getting it into your lungs, there's VOCs in resin, and it is not good for you. So you want to make sure you're prepared to work with it. You're in a large room, ventilation, you're wearing your gloves right here. If you're working in an enclosed space, you want to make sure that you have a mask on. I do see here in this kit, it even comes with a few face masks, which was nice to see. And I also see in here, there's a charcoal filter system when you are in enclosed spaces. Now this one here is fully enclosed.
It is.
So that makes it a little bit nicer. I don't think, something like this we'd have as many issues with. Some of the more standard ones that people work with, like the smaller Jupiter and Saturn, things like that just have the plastic acrylic cases on top. They might throw off a little bit more fumes on the air. But working in a ventilated place is probably the most important thing. And always, always, always wearing gloves when you work with this stuff.
So, would you recommend this being inside, like in your main house part?
I would never recommend a resin being in your main house. This one here specifically, I think this one might be a little more acceptable. Simply because it's completely enclosed. I do see there's a filter system here we're going to talk about. But if you can get it next to a window, next to a ventilation system, in your garage, anywhere where it's going to be away from pets, children, things like that, that's where you really want to keep these types of printers.
This printer has a air duct right here.
Built into it. And that's what that little
you just
thing
take
is
these
on the back here.
four screws out, and you can put an air duct right here.
And does that come from Elegoo? Can you buy that directly from them? As
No,
an attachment?
they want you to, find your own.
Okay.
And I have seen that there is a motorized with a fan built into it and a filter system.
Yes.
It's not that expensive.
I have
it's
one
small,
in my house.
And I believe I could hook it to these 4 screws to even be more safe.
Well, you might need to print yourself a duct for that.
I might.
But I do actually, one of those filters, they're a turbine type system.
Yes.
I actually have one of those on my laser cutter because it produces so much fumes.
Okay.
So they work really, really well. So let's go over some of these things here. First off, gloves. This is the most important thing. You're going to go through these a lot. Unfortunately, COVID made these things really expensive.
Yes.
They are coming down in price. This is one of the biggest expenses that people kind of misunderstand right now. Gloves used to be like $3 or $4 a box for $100. I'm assuming you probably paid $12, $15 for this box, something like that.
A little higher, like 25,
a little bit higher. Okay,
yeah.
So these a little bit thicker mill. I don't see.
They're extra large. That's probably.
Yeah. Well, there's also different thicknesses as well, but they are still expensive. But you do go through them. So if you're going to print for personal use, it doesn't matter. But if you're going to print for commercial use, you definitely want to calculate the price of your gloves and your paper towels you're going to blow through. Seriously, there's actually a giant box of paper towels in my garage because I blow through a roll so quickly. It's not even funny. But calculate the cost of these two things in with your resin cost because these are a very high price.
Now, can I just use any latex or any glove?
No, you cannot. So I found this out the hard way.
Okay.
You cannot use latex gloves, even though they are cheaper. That's why people want them. Latex will physically melt if you touch it with resin.
Huh.
Yeah, I put latex gloves on, touch the resin, and next thing I know, resin's all over my fingers, and the gloves are melted off my hands. That only took a few minutes. So when I say these things are volatile, they are toxic, they are chemicals. Understand you are working with chemicals. As you see here, this resin, it's shipped in a plastic container. These are very specific plastics to hold these resins, and you've got plastic wrapped around it. When you're not using it, you may want to keep it in this plastic. You may want to get bags for them. Some people do. You definitely don't want to keep it sitting anywhere near other plastics or metals with painted surfaces. The resin will eat right through paint.
Now this says it's washable resin. Okay.
It is washable.
Does that mean I don't have to worry about this resin? I can actually touch it and everything because this is washable on it?
Not at all.
Okay.
It's water washable in that water will help dissolve it faster.
Okay.
Okay. Resin, you cannot touch resin regardless of what it is. It doesn't matter if that resin is plant-based resin, if it's engineering grade, if it's water washable, it doesn't matter what it is. There's all still dangerous chemicals.
And I think that we need to make a point about that because I think people think just because it says washable on the bottle means that it's like water-based latex paint, right?
Exactly.
Where it's easily washable, you can get all over your hands, it doesn't matter, but it matters.
This
matters a lot.
Yeah, I honestly, I cannot discuss enough about the safety. And so one of these things we have here, and I see you got, is a photosensitive resin mat that we're going to work off of. So whenever we open this bottle, we're going to keep everything on here, and there's this little lip on here that if anything leaks off of here, we don't have to worry about it rolling off. I will say, I did learn the hard way when containing your resin.
Okay.
When you have to drain the vat, and you see right here's your little drain for this.
Yeah.
You need somewhere to put it, right? So I thought it would be a great idea to grab those red Solo cups and store it in there. That was not a great idea.
Didn't work?
It worked until I came back out the next day and found all of my resin all over the ground because I didn't have one of these.
Did it eat through the cup?
It ate through the cup.
Oh my gosh.
So this plastic is specific for this resin.
This can eat through plastic. You're saying
it ate right through the cup.
So this must be a special plastic that it doesn't eat through. Correct.
And they ship them in a lot of metal bottles as well. I don't like the metal because when the resin gets down the side of it, it starts peeling the paint on the metal if it's a painted bottle, and I much prefer the plastic bottles myself.
Is this stuff resin or acetone?
It's just resin. So let's go ahead, open this up. We'll put this over here. Nice size silicone mat.
And we'll emphasize the word silicone mat. That's what makes it resin doesn't stick to silicone, correct?
Correct. Now resin in itself, one thing about resin is it doesn't actually dry. Okay, resin, unless you're curing the resin, it doesn't dry. So it can even stay open to air for days at a time. It can gel. Okay. So if you leave it open too long or you have a little bit of exposed UV to it, it can gel. So it's another great reason to keep your resin printers in your garage because you can keep it dark and cool in the garage. So I can actually leave my resin container open inside my garage for weeks without it ever having any issues.
Now, with an enclosed printer like this, and the shade or the black that they have on the front, I could probably leave it in here.
I would say so.
Without a problem, and I'm in a dark room, of course.
Now, if you're going to leave it for an extended period of time, always drain your vat. Don't leave your vat filled for months on end if you're not.
What do you consider amount of time? How long do you think you can probably leave it in?
I would say anything over 2 weeks. If you're going to do it within 2 weeks, you're fine.
Okay.
If you're not going to use it for more than 2 weeks, drain your vat, put it back in your bottle, strain any of this first. Never, ever, ever put unstrained resin back in your bottle. During the print, you can have defects and things like that gel across the bottom of this, which is also why we're going to talk about how to clean this after your prints and see if you need to drain it and strain it between printing and things like that.
That's probably a very good lesson, as I didn't see anybody teaching you how to clean the vats afterwards.
Yeah, you don't have to clean it after every print. Yeah, you can usually get away with 5, 10, 15 prints. Unless you have something fail, you don't really experience that kind of stuff. Or if you have some complex prints that might have light that gets through, or certain types of resin that are clear. I've had issues with clear resins where they gel a little bit quicker than a
if you leave it in the vat, then do you have to stir the resin before you do your next
Absolutely. Print? You always have to stir the resin. So if you leave it in the vat, with the bottle here, you can just kind of shake the bottle a little bit, mix it up. You can't do that in the vat. So there is, and I think this kit included them. Yeah, they're right there. Little scrapers you run along the bottom.
Okay.
Just kind of mix it up a little bit. Sometimes I put flakes, metallic flakes in the resin.
Okay.
And so they all kind of just soak to the bottom. So you got to kind of mix that all back up and whatnot.
So would it be good to be like, those popsicle sticks you can get like from the store? You get like 1,000 of them in a little bag, right? Would that be good to buy some of those and have it to just stir that around?
That would take you a while, and I'd actually be concerned if the wood might scratch the FEP.
Okay.
This FEP is really sensitive. And so we'll talk about that as well in the different types of FEP. But there's a little scraper here that's going to be a little bit wider. Okay. It's going to give you a large area to scrape across. That way you're not going to put any pressure points against your LCD.
It's probably made out of silicone somewhat too, or?
It is a hard plastic.
Okay.
It's a hard plastic with a nice edge on it. So let's go ahead and get this mat put down here.
Then we can talk about everything that came with it.
And then we will break into the printer, get our gloves on, and start printing. So we'll move that aside. So this is an interesting cool toolkit. Mine did not come with this. There's a lot of different things here. So masks for you.
See?
Mask.
Masks.
And it looks like there's a little bit of charcoal filter. There's a carbon in here.
Yeah, there's a carbon layer in these. These are not just normal masks that you would see.
We've got some screws. Looks like some extra screws, probably for these kits here, and some tools, which we'll need those for leveling purposes. Now this, from what I see, is a pro version of Chi2.
What does it give us on a pro version of Chi2?
So the pro version unlocks a couple features of Chi2 Box, which is the slicing software for this. Okay. So Chi2 is one of 2 different slicing softwares. They do have a competitor called Lychee. That's what I use personally. I use the Lychee Pro Edition. And so really it just gives you some more advanced features, different types of initial plates against the board that might make it easier to take off, give you more advanced support system, all that kind of stuff. And so it looks like they actually give you the pro license with this printer.
This is for 1 year.
It is a yearly subscription, and I believe it's $100 a year is what it is. Lychee is $40 a year.
Now I heard that all of them used Chi2 Box out of the gate due to the fact that the BIOS or whatever is made from them or something.
Correct. So with the exception of Prusa, every single printer for 3D printing uses a very specific slicing method, and it is a unfortunately licensed and trademarked slicing method that Chi2 owns. And they own the firmware, they make the motherboards for all the printers, and it is closed source.
And that's why when you see, I don't care which, except for Prusa, Resin Printer you see out there, they have the same screens, same square screen.
Yep.
When you get into you can pretty well know what's going to be in there when you turn it on because they're all about the same. And that's because they all have the same firmware.
Correct. So the manufacturers do get to modify the firmwares a little bit based on the printer and things like that. But overall, under the hood, they all run the same engine.
Okay.
Yeah. So we've got that. Got some gloves here. These are nitrile gloves. We'll keep those in the pack. We'll use these nice ones here because I know these ones work well. So we got some gloves, screwdriver.
Now that one's a little bit different. They gave you Allen keys and then they give you a screwdriver.
Yeah, that's a little bit smaller. I'm not quite sure what we're going to use that one for, but I'm sure it's there somewhere. Got our power supply, nice big power supply.
That's a big brick.
It is. So let's pull that out.
I'm sure that's got to power the motors and
it does.
Everything in there, including the LCD.
So I'm going to go ahead and hand that to you to set over there. Now this is interesting. These resin caps. I'm excited for this because this has a refilling system in it,
yes,
right?
It does.
It keeps it full at all times with this cap. Now you can just fill the vat because there's a little max line right here so you know where to fill it at. But this over here is what's really interesting. And these caps, I guess, screw onto there and just keep this full at all times.
It does. And the one thing I liked about the difference between, let's say, another one that has an auto fill system is that this one is non-mechanical. There's nothing to break. If I ruin all those caps, I can order another bag of them. Doesn't matter.
The only curiosity I have here, the mechanical ones have a tube that goes in the bottle, so any bottle is going to work. Do these caps work with any resin? I know. No. So I know that these bottles here.
This is from Elegoo.
But these bottles, though, are standard. These are manufactured. Okay. Everyone uses these bottles. But it makes me wonder, are these going to work with the metal bottles? Because the metal bottles are a much different thread, and I doubt that these are going to function with them.
And I'll tell you right now, they do not.
Yeah.
And with of course, the community in printing and 3D printing, the community is outrageous. When they need something, the community comes together and they make it, right? So what they did was they made from bigger to smaller, from smaller to bigger for all the different resins bottles that are out there.
Okay.
And you just screw it into the top and then screw that into that.
How creative.
And you're done. So,
I love the printing community.
Yeah.
I love open sourced printing communities.
Unbelievable how they can accomplish so much.
I am going to tell you this though, Ken.
I need it.
You're going to be reaching out to Elegoo. We got a broken one.
A broken one?
A broken one. That's okay. Only one of them. It looks like the other 4 are fine. So we've got a scraper, a nice large metal scraper.
We do have a scraper.
This is for taking your prints off.
So it's not, I don't putty the house with that?
No,
okay.
You use this for putty.
Okay.
So you're gonna gently run this at a 45 angle right on your prints.
You know I've done with one for the Excellent Carbon when I got that.
The little plastic, oh yes.
Scraper.
Yes.
And I took the bed out.
Yeah. Okay. This one's against metal, you can't hurt this one.
Okay, that's good.
This guy here,
that's the stirrer.
This is the stirrer. So you just kind of run this back and forth. You can use this against the edge, bringing up anything. So when you use this in there and you feel stuff, okay?
Right.
Stuff, whatever, gel, pieces, parts, whatever you're scraping, if you feel that as you're running through here between your prints, drain your vat.
Okay.
Okay. So understand, we work with millimeters in FDM printing.
Okay.
We work with nanometers inside of this printing.
So how much can that destroy if there is pieces in there and you don't know it, what is it going to do to your print?
You'll crack your LCD.
Okay.
As soon as the pressure...
Don't scare me or anything.
The pressure from that plate is so immense that when it pushes down, if there's anything in this vat, it will push that into the LCD and crack it.
Okay.
Okay. That's important.
It sounds important.
Stir your vat often.
Yeah.
It only takes a few seconds.
Now I did check the price from Elegoo.
How much is for his new 6K10?
$125.
What?
$125 for a brand new LCD, 6K. So
my 4K 10-inch from Frozen is $160.
Yeah, it's not that bad.
That's not fair.
Yeah.
That's not fair. I'm gonna go buy one of those. All right. So what do we got here? We got something else. Ooh. Oh. This is a nice tool.
What is this?
This is a support cutter.
What? You mean it's the same as my other? Oh, it's a side cutter.
Yeah, but this is something that most people don't know that they need, is a support cutter. So this is cut at a very, very fine angle, this one specifically, so you can get as close to your prints as possible to snip them off.
Now, I thought that when the supports were on there, you could just rip them off, like you do FDM.
Sure you can.
I didn't know.
But in resin, well, in resin, the supports are attached and kind of part of the print.
Okay.
So when that comes out, you can rip them off.
Okay.
But you're going to leave beads and marks behind all over your print.
Okay.
Okay. So the best thing you can do is get as close as you possibly can, especially on, like, if you're printing a figurine. You want to position it so you don't get anything in the detail anyway. Okay. But sometimes if they're like wearing a cape or something like that, you don't want to have those divots. It's a little bit harder to get those out. You can use high fill primers and things like that on your...
Or sandpaper and stuff?
Exactly. Yeah. If you clip this down on the edge, then you can take a little piece of sandpaper and just wear it down. Okay. Okay. So you definitely can rip a lot of your supports, but some of the more sensitive areas you're going to want to cut off. So I like seeing so many tools in this kit.
I think I've never seen another, well, I haven't opened up any other 3D printers. I'm sure you have, but I've never seen kits come like this.
Not like
3D
this.
printers.
Nope. So now this is nice. These are something I had to go find and get myself. These are paint strainers. And it looks like they give you a pack of 10 maybe of these. And these are what I use. Now I know you went and got something else.
Back in the bottle there, right?
Correct. So when you drain this vat, you're going to take this, put it inside the bottle, and you're going to drain it into here. Yeah. Okay. Now I like to use a little glass first because that's a little bit of a small lid, and I'm always afraid I'm going to spill it over. Okay. So I actually take a canning glass that you put like veggies and can and whatnot, and I use it in there first. Drain everything in, nice big opening, and then I can make sure it's all clean, and then I can just pour that easily back into my container.
You know, I was thinking the same thing when I purchased, you know, this one right here. And this one I did because, well, I don't have to worry about throwing things away. It's got a bigger neck. It's got a smaller to go straight in there. But I have dreams about this doing this, okay? And I meant like putting this in and it just falling over. So I went looking on the internet. Of course, the resin community has a stand that you put your resin bottle in to hold it from ever falling over, and a little place to put your other stuff so while you're working with it. It was kind of nice.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah.
So with this though, so these both have advantages, right? So I use these. Okay. And you're going to use this. Yes. Okay. When I'm done with this, I get to throw it away.
You do?
I do.
Yes.
In my special wastebasket, by the way. I have a special resin wastebasket where all my resin products go in.
Does the lid close then? So you don't
the lid doesn't close on it. I probably should have a closing lid, but it is marked that way. It's marked with safety tape around it, things like that. And when I'm done with that, I take and dispose of that properly.
Where?
So you can take it to proper recycling areas. You let them know what it is. There's different different places you can take it to in your community, city, things like that. You just need to call and ask, can they take resin and dangerous toxic substances?
Well, that's a good thing. So don't pour this down the sink.
Don't pour this down the sink. Now, that's where this comes in. Ken, how do you plan on cleaning this?
Well, I plan on cleaning it at my wash and cure station.
With the alcohol?
Yes.
Good. That's the only place you can cure it. So, or clean it, I should say. So this, even though it says water washable, okay, you do not want to take this to your sink and wash your parts and clean your products in your sink.
But that's what it says.
I know it says that. That's the confusing part.
It says wash it.
Correct. In a container of water.
Oh.
Yeah, don't pour this down your sink.
See, I thought, little Dawn soap, dishwashing liquid, little.
Do you want that in our water?
Water.
I don't want that in our water.
It'd be just fine.
Nah, I don't want that in our water. So definitely make sure you're cleaning this in either.
Let's make that very clear to the audience that for safety and for your community, do not pour any of this down the sink.
Yes, okay? Absolutely.
Another thing is don't take this out and dump it out in the yard, which actually still goes down to your water supply for people that don't know that.
Not only that, you've also got other people's pets. You've got animals in the backyard. You don't want this. If you ingest this, this can kill you. So again, very safe. Make sure you're working with it properly. You're not putting it down your sink. You're not throwing it away in regular trash. These are all really important things.
Safety messages from Ken's Tech Lab.
Okay, so keep this cleaned in alcohol and or water if it's water washable. Now, alcohol we also have here. So this is 99% proof.
Yes.
This is great stuff. It can be a little expensive at times. It's easier if you're gonna do this in a large scale, buy these in the gallons or 4-gallon containers.
I was going to do that. I had a choice. I could buy 4 of these, or I could buy 2 1-gallon containers. But I wanted to make sure this was good.
Yes.
Before I did that. And what I found out is that this brand right here, when you go looking for 99% alcohol, this is about it.
Yeah. I have found a couple places. You can go to Home Depot sometimes, Lowe's sometimes carries it, places like that. As long as you're above 91%, you're pretty safe. I mean, so I've heard of some people using...
these that I use for cleaning our...
91%.
Is 91%.
Yeah, as long as you're above 91, you're safe. I have seen people use like the 85% and things like that. It clouds easier, it doesn't dilute as much, it doesn't clean as quickly. Sometimes it leaves a little bit of resin tacky back on it. But this 99% stuff, great. I personally use 93%, I think it is, and I get that from Sam's Club.
I thought you're the one that told me it was 99 that you use.
No.
So I ran out and got 99.
No, I use 93%. If I could, I would use 99 if I could find it in reasonable price. But I go through so much alcohol that I cannot reasonably use 99% due to its cost.
So you have an alcohol problem.
I do have an alcohol problem. So, all right. So we have that. We've talked about this. We got a little USB key here. I'm sure this just has some firmware or something on it. We'll figure out what that is. This is what really interests me. So I have this.
You have that?
I do. I have 2 of these.
Okay.
But there's a nub on the bottom of this one.
Yeah.
Mine doesn't have this. So I want to see what that is because this has piqued my curiosity. That's a USB port.
It is. It's 5 volts in.
I think this goes inside the printer.
I believe it does.
Which means that this thing has a built-in air purifier. Now, here's what I find so interesting about this. Mine are charged via USB on the back.
Okay.
And they die very quickly. I get 5 hours.
Really?
Yeah, I get about 5 hours.
You have to recharge them every time?
And you have to recharge it. And it only comes with 1 cable for 2 of these. Yet this one has a built-in one. So this is going to be interesting when we find out where this goes inside. So right here, little filter. And right inside here, now sometimes these come out of it. Wow, this whole thing is a charcoal filter.
This is
definitely, yeah, this is a very different model from the ones I have. This was actually kind of surprising. I wasn't expecting to see this, to be honest. This here is a massive charcoal filter.
So does that get used up?
This will last you quite a while. I would imagine this would last you probably a couple of years, a couple hundred
Elegoo
prints
sells these whole kits and refills for this on their website.
So the one I have is a charcoal filter, and these are very brittle, very delicate. Don't drop these; they'll shatter into 1,000 little pieces. The charcoal filter I have is only about maybe this much of the top. So it's a much smaller one. So this is quite interesting here. I'm going to slide that back in there. Push that back down. Okay, so there we go.
Charcoal filter.
So we'll go ahead and since we're going to use the metal one, we'll throw that back in there. We're not going to use those gloves. We'll throw that in there and close that up and get some space back on our table. Okay, so we talked about the gloves. We talked about our plate and our vat. FEP. This is what goes inside this vat. This is the layer between the LCD and your print, okay? Your print sticks to this FEP. It's just this little thin sheet right here. We'll take this little card out of here. I'll lift this up so people can see it. There is a very thin sheet of plastic between that and your print. And your print, oh, and actually I have to take the bottom off of here. Your print actually sticks to this FEP. So whenever the plate comes down, it's 10 nanometers, usually 10 nanometers from the print plate, and it does its first print. It flashes the lights, and the print sticks to this.
So this is sort of like the bill plate until it rips it off. Correct.
So whenever you first, and it's kind of scary if you're not used to it, you actually hear a snap every single time the plate prints. What that is, it's this FEP lifting just a little bit and allowing that print to disconnect from it. Okay, so it's really important that you also, every so often, every 20, 30 prints, you want to completely drain your vat, even if there's nothing in it, or if there's no like gel or anything in it, and inspect the FEP.
What are you looking for?
You're looking for any cuts, any small cuts, marks, any indentations that look weak in the FEP, because here's what will happen. You're gonna pull a me.
What do you mean you?
I got greedy.
Okay.
Ken, FEP is expensive.
Okay.
And that's why I like having two of these here with this kit. I use what's called NFEP or nylon FEP.
Okay.
It allows it to.
Stronger.
It is stronger. It lasts longer. It disconnects easier. But I was greedy.
Okay.
And I didn't change it.
You didn't.
And I should have.
How many prints?
I probably had well over 50 on it, 50, 60 prints. And, but I had a couple failures and things like that, which led to it degrading a little quicker.
Okay.
And unfortunately, because I was greedy, I ran a print, and it was an engineering print for a friend of mine down in North Carolina. And when it pulled away, it had put a little bit of layering on top of an already pinched area on the FEP.
Okay.
And when it ripped, it snapped.
And could you tell immediately, or you were not even around?
You have no clue. Okay. You have no clue if that happens. It's completely invisible to you until after you pull it off.
Okay.
So it leaked through, got on my screen, and cured on my screen.
Because every time that it snapped a photo, layer,
more of it would cure, and it kept curing and curing and curing and building. And then I noticed the print failed completely. I came out, took the vat off, and saw it all over my screen. And Ken, I tried to save the screen.
Did you?
I did. But let me tell you, resin cures hard.
Yeah.
So I did not have a screen protector on mine. Shame on me. And I ended up shattering the screen.
Okay.
And I have to buy a new screen.
So, I have a screen protector already on this.
You do?
It came with it.
Yes.
Okay. I also ordered 5 more.
Sounds like you were listening to my stories. So definitely inspect your FEP, change it as needed. Don't be greedy with it. Otherwise, you're going to end up with a bigger bill.
So we're looking for, to start the problem. Okay, what are we looking for in that?
Any pinches, marks, lines running through it from previous prints, things like that. Anything that you feel and you can physically see that it's like, okay, that's a weak point.
And we could have a problem, right?
Exactly.
Okay.
So changing the FEP is fairly simple. All you do, undo all your bolts underneath here, and then pull this off. There's this little seal comes out from around here. You're gonna lay your new sheet over it, push it all back in, and I'm sure you'll do that in another video later.
I'm sure.
Yeah, it's very simple.
Hey, this comes with a protective cover too.
It does. We have to pull it off. So. There we go.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so gonna set that back down. And it's nice, this comes with 2 extra ones. So keep those safe, they're your best friend.
Okay.
Well, I think that is it. We went over the charcoal filter, the different things there, our gloves. So why don't we go ahead
and level?
Get this thing powered on and level it.
That sounds like a plan.
Okay.
And we're back. So, it's funny, I went to do the editing of this video, and the first 45 minutes was perfect. Came through, and then the second 45 minutes of this video, well, guess what was missing?
You're telling me my beautiful voice is not on this video.
Your beautiful voice was gone, and so was everything else. So this is This is from the future, everybody. This is not live. The video's live, but we are talking in the future after we've made the video. Pretty much a week after we did this video.
Yeah, it's been close to a week.
Tomorrow's Friday, and we did this on a Saturday, so yeah, it's coming up really close to a week.
So, I guess we'll pick up kind of where we left off and just explain from this point what we're doing. First thing here is we're prepping the printer, taking off the old seal from the glass screen. Was that glass or is that plastic?
That was the cover that little tag that says "Please remove before use."
Yeah, but I mean your screen. Is it glass or is it plastic?
It's glass.
Interesting.
And that was covering it over, and I think I was telling you, like, is this our screen protector? Mm-hmm. Right? And I was going to take it off, and I'm like, are we sure?
I was wondering about that, yeah, because it didn't look like a screen protector entirely. And you said you actually had some difficulty locating screen protectors, and you contacted Elegoo about that, right?
I did contact Elegoo, and what support told me was that the sheet, those extra sheets that you get, mm-hmm. Since you get 2 of them in the box, and mm-hmm. I think in this video you actually said, "Oh my God, you get 2 of them."
Yes, I do remember
that those sheets are supposed to be undone, and you know that they're bigger than the plate
because you have to cut them
about
down.
an inch,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah,
all the way around.
Mm-hmm.
So what they said is lay that over, take some black tape, and tape it down, and that will be your new screen protector.
So the official solution is to use FEP in place of a screen protector.
Yes.
Okay, fair enough. I mean, honestly, when you're protecting the screen, you're protecting it against the liquid resin curing to it.
Yes.
Rather than against cracks and damage. So I can see that. I can see that working.
Well, I didn't take that answer too well. Mm-hmm. So what I did was I went on and started searching for screen protectors for the Jupiter, right? Mm-hmm. And I found them. Right, they're available, all ready to produce, wow. And ready for this. And this printer has not been released that long.
No, it hasn't. It's pretty new.
And so I ordered them, and
how long till they get in?
They're already here.
Oh, they are. Have you applied it yet? Or
I've already applied it.
And how was that? Was it easy?
So one thing that's strange is, I guess, some of these don't come with the tape that goes around the screen. Mm-hmm. Have you ever seen a resin that doesn't have the black tape that holds the LCD screen in there? Uh-huh. Right? So this gives you the sheet with the peels off both sides, mm-hmm. right? And you put it down, and it sticks to the screen, and then they give you a spatula with it that you actually can squeegee out the bubbles.
Okay. So kind of like a phone screen protector.
Exactly.
Okay, so it's very similar.
Exactly. It was very easy to put on. There was not hardly any bubbles to have to scrape out of it. And it came with a whole sheet of those black tapes that you would have to put around your LCD screen if you didn't have it already.
Interesting.
Yeah, I was a little confused. I was like, well, is this the black tape that Elegoo said that I needed to do this with? But no, it wasn't. I mean, look how big this plate is, right?
Now, speaking of the plate, and I see the paper here.
Yes.
And I know what we're going to talk about next.
Oh my gosh.
So, again, as Ken mentioned, we are talking to you from the future. Now, as we all know, if you're watching this resin print, or maybe you're new to resin takes time. And so this print was actually going to take 4.5 hours, which we didn't have time to wait and do any troubleshooting. But, Ken, tell them about what you encountered and the beautiful cylindrical discs that you sent me for your first prints.
This is hilarious, actually. So my first print was, like Jessy said, 4.5 hours, and I couldn't wait till it finished. So it'd come up out of that vat, and they would show me this beautiful rooks, 2 of them, that my first print, and I'd be so happy. And 4.5 hours later, it beeps. I hear the motor winding out the
And you got excited. You got up on the couch. You dashed to the printer. You opened it up, and you had perfect prints.
I dashed and looked at it, and there was nothing there.
Oh no, you had perfect prints.
I had nothing on the plate. It was It was the drips, right? Just drips on the bottom, and I'm like,
I can only imagine your face.
What? And I went down and I says, and I raised the I went in and level and brought the bed all the way up to the top so I could actually see inside the vat. Because I thought maybe it fell off.
Which can happen.
I thought the print just fell off, and it's just floating around in the vat somewhere. So I took that little plastic squeegee thing. Not a squeegee. What is it?
It's a scraper. It's just a little plastic scraper for the vat.
And I took that little plastic scraper and I felt around in there. I couldn't find anything.
Interesting.
So I said, okay, so let's clean it. Now, I don't know if you remember the little funnel that I purchased.
The metal one.
The metal one,
yeah,
right?
Exactly.
Okay, so the metal one came with 2 inserts.
Yes, there was a fine insert and then a little bit thicker insert.
The fine insert is actually a full screen over top of the small holes that
Which I was a little concerned with that. I wasn't sure how fast the resin was going to drain through that.
It took me an hour
to
get the resin back in the bottle.
There's my answer.
Back in the bottle, it took 1 hour, and here I am. You know how that thing's not light, right? I'm holding it, and I'm letting it drip in there, right, a little at a time because it was filling all the way up.
You know, and I told you, that resin, or that vat is massive, that it took almost an entire bottle of resin in the vat. So I can only imagine how long you were actually standing there.
Yeah, I let it fill up. And it wasn't going down. It was like one of those clogged sinks, right?
Yeah.
And I'm waiting and waiting and waiting. I tried shaking. I would hold the whole vat in one hand and try shaking a little bit. It wasn't going that fast.
No. You're not going to speed it up. Resin's thick.
So I got to the very end of it. I finally got it. I got to the end of it. I'm going, and I squeezed out what was left on it, and there was 2 circles in the bottom.
Your prints.
They were there, but someone smashed them down. They were flat.
So you got them out. You cured them in the curing station, which we'll talk about here in a bit. But so fast forwarding, I know we were going back and forth for a little bit texting, and you were rerunning your levels a few times and testing.
You forgot to say that I cleaned this. And I am like a champion on cleaning the resin printer.
You cleaned everything. You re-leveled it, and you re-leveled it, and you cleaned, and you tried over and over. And I know at one point you contacted Elegoo, and they sent you some instructions.
They did.
On the fact that some of these beds may not actually be perfectly level. They're having a couple issues with some perfectly flat beds. Yep. And they wanted you to do a little bit of sanding? What did they want you to do?
So the first thing they wanted me to do is get out a flat ruler and make sure that the build the plate was completely flat.
Okay.
Check it on diagonally and horizontal, and I did.
Okay. And it was fine.
It's perfectly flat.
Okay, so you weren't affected by that issue.
No, and the second, they actually did it in a list, right, with a picture. This is what an unflat build plate looked like with a picture.
Yep.
And the second thing I did was he said, sand it. He said, this will not void the warranty.
No, because sanding is a regular part of doing that to the bed.
After watching quite a few videos, I found that out. So
you don't do it often. Now, folks, let me tell you, you don't do that very often, but you do it.
So this is like, if you see on the screen right now, we are leveling that printer.
Correct.
And a few times right here, because the instructions said one thing and we did it, and it didn't really follow the instructions that well. As you see that I'm able to slide it back and forth pretty easy. So I sanded it, but I went and started watching some more videos. And I went a little bit deeper, and I found instructions like from when this thing first came out. They were shipping the Jupiter with the wrong size leveling guide.
So that white card that's on the bed currently, that we use for the leveling card.
Yes.
That is too thick.
That is too thick where it's not close enough to the plastic sheet to stick to the
Now, I will say,
build plate.
with my resin printing at home, I use a thin sheet of paper. And I can tell you that card was definitely at least twice the size of a sheet of paper. So I can definitely see that. So what did you have to do to actually end up making this print?
Well, the video that I watched told me that the card is the wrong size. I think support should have led with that. Also said, he had the same problem. He tried leveling it 10 times, right? And the same thing happened. Nothing would stick. So at the end, after sanding it, he went a little bit further. Instead of leveling it to a sheet of paper, he leveled it to the vat.
So you took the unit, you put the Z-axis all the way down to home, and you forced it in, and you actually did it in the vat.
In the vat. I actually held my hand in the vat and then
tightened
the 4 screws by hand first, and then I went back and did them while I'm holding it.
Yeah.
In the right order that you were supposed to. And then I let go and I went back a menu and went and said, this is the new 0.
Okay, so you did not, so let me make this very clear. You did not follow the instructions at all. You did not run a Z offset the way they wanted you to,
No.
pushing down on the buttons. No. All you did was the old-fashioned, and the way I do it, the way I've always done it. It's the way some of my friends have done it. You just put your hand on top of the unit, hold it down in place, and tighten down the screws.
That's what I did.
And that's what worked.
That's what worked.
So what always works is what worked. Huh.
And this was, last night is when I did this. And I was still hesitant to thinking if this was really going to work after being stung so many times.
Oh, I know.
So about, I don't know, maybe 50 each time it went down, I went back up and hit pause. And what pause does on this printer is it brings it back up to view. Not all the way up, but to view.
Yeah, about halfway.
And I looked at the bottom and I saw it. I saw a little notch.
You had a print.
I had a print sitting there, right? I mean, I had drips all over the rest of it, but I had a little print there. And I said, oh, yeah. I pressed continue or play.
Yeah.
And it continued printing, and then I went back about an hour and a half later. Because remember, this is still a 4.5 hour print.
It is.
Right? So I went back, and it was that big.
You had the rook. You had a 2.5 inch rook.
I could read on it the words.
Oh yeah.
On this thing, right? So I said, Elegoo.
So we finally had a successful print.
We did, and
it looked fantastic.
It looked well. I haven't taken it off the plate yet.
So it's still on the plate.
It's still on the plate right now. It's sitting upside down on the plate because, of course, we have real things to. The live daily things that you have to deal with.
So you're going to go home here tonight.
Yes.
And you're actually going to take that off the plate, and you're going to use the tools that we're about to talk about next.
Yes.
And finish your post-process.
Now, I would say that this is the first time I'm going to use those tools that we'll be talking about.
But it's not.
But it's not.
You already had to cure your beautiful discs.
I have the discs, and I have a set now. Of discs.
That's your first print.
It is. And I forgot to tell everybody is that I thought maybe the problem was the rook. Right? The rook is actually sliced by Elegoo.
Yeah.
Okay, maybe they put one from another machine in there. So I sliced
your own.
My own. Right? And now that's the first slice I've ever done to a resin. Right, but
And what did you use? Did you use Chi2 or did you use Lychee?
Lychee.
Okay.
Lychee is, after reading and you telling me everything, it's the best one to use. So I went through the wizard and let it hang it for me and everything. Did
you like the automated systems?
Yeah.
Where it just auto rotates?
It just auto everything.
Yeah. No, that's not always perfect.
No.
But it is really good. And especially if you're in a rush and you get something done, it really works.
That's what I did. I wanted it done and I wanted it done now.
Yeah.
So what I did was just after the last failure, I sliced this. And I had to put it on the USB because I don't have the network hooked up on it yet.
Yeah.
And I plugged it in and I ran it. And at this time, I knew that you could see if a print failed by hitting the pause button, which I didn't know prior to that. I didn't, even when we're doing this video right here, as we're now putting the VAT in.
Correct. So at this point, it looks like we put the air purifier on the left-hand side in the back there, which attaches via USB and keeps that thing always powered, which is one of my favorite features, honestly, this whole printer. And we talked about that earlier. We got the VAT in, and we're about to break into the resin.
We are. We're about to open the resin for the first time.
Yep.
I believe that, we were talking about, before this half of the video, we were talking about safety. And we're talking about gloves and masks and everything you need. And talking about safety, as we were doing it before, and you see right there in the picture, you have a roll of paper towels. Yeah, that roll's long gone.
Oh, I bet it is. I blow through paper towels like it's no tomorrow.
And I don't have a print until today, so I haven't even taken that off. But I've already went through it.
Yeah. So I'm going to highly recommend this. I use it. I know it's more expensive, and some of you out there may or may not use them. The really nice, heavy duty, you can get them at Home Depot, you can get them at Lowe's, auto supermarkets, places like that. They're blue.
Okay.
They are really heavy duty.
The auto ones for auto,
yes,
to take the oil.
I use so many less of those because they don't break down as quickly.
Right.
And they absorb a lot more. So I use less of them, though they are more expensive. I do note that I go through them not nearly as quickly. Now, when I'm doing something on like the tabletop and I'm trying to lay out a whole bunch of paper towels, I won't use the blue ones for that. I will use regular paper towels, lay them out on the tabletop because I don't have a silicone mat like you do. And so I just put everything on there and then I kind of ball it up into a giant ball when I'm done and throw it away in the special trash can for the resin stuff.
Oh, I found out one thing about your special trash can.
Huh.
And you made me my special trash can here.
I did.
Yes. Do you remember what that was?
Yeah, it's a cardboard box.
Yes.
I wouldn't use that for very long.
So I found out that even when you take all the resin and clean everything with alcohol and everything's cleaned and everything's put away, if you leave that box or our trash can sitting anywhere inside the house, you might as well just leave the resin in the vat.
Yes. Resin does not cure. And again, I have to make this very, very clear. Resin does not dry. It doesn't dry until you cure it. So it will always maintain its smells and VOC gases and things like that. But as you see here, obviously we're putting gloves on. I think, Ken, you actually grabbed the resin bottle and was going to open it without gloves, if I remember correctly.
I think I said oops, and I put it back down and then picked it up.
It's something to get used to. It honestly is. It takes a while to honestly get used to it. And as I was talking here, I noted that we didn't have safety glasses, unfortunately, with us.
No, we did. But you said that our regular glasses were enough for this.
Not entirely, no. I said that the regular glasses will suit us for this time being, but normally when I'm near my printers, I'm always wearing glasses that go the whole way around. And actually, they're goggles that fit over glasses.
You're talking about like when we out to places that do production or manufacturing.
Exactly.
That you can't go out there without the glasses.
The safety glasses that they have that have the side guards on them and come over top of your eyes to against your forehead, places, things like that. Because remember, you're working with a liquid, right? So if that liquid splashes, it's going to go up, around, over, under your glasses. So you'd just be lucky to get it on the actual lens if that was the case. So, definitely always wear them. And I hope you have already purchased a pair or are going to purchase a pair after this conversation.
I'm going to buy.
Okay, good.
Or purchase one.
Okay, so looks like
we just opened it. I think we just look at there. We have already got resin's already
here. I'm showing you. I'm telling you right here. This is where you're going to go through them.
Resin's been spilled already, and we haven't even poured any in the vat.
Yep. So I guess, next thing that happened here, if I recall, you were getting the bottle in the resin, and it was a little bit wasn't difficult, but it felt like you had to put a little more pressure than you anticipated.
Well, one thing is that when I first turned it, it was turning the same axis as if you were unscrewing the bottle.
Okay.
And if I turned it too hard, it was starting to unscrew the cap from the bottle.
Okay.
And I don't know what you did differently, but it kept on falling over when I tried doing it.
Yeah. And once you get it in, it's only like a little tiny, like 15, not even degree turn. But you'll feel a snap once you get it in. You'll feel it kind of give way and snap. But the one thing I found interesting, and we're going to see here, and this is what I'm not quite sure of, is you definitely want to fill the vat before putting your spare bottle in.
Don't use the spare bottle as the filler off the bat. If not, you'll be there till tomorrow.
Well, beyond that, I think I was squeezing it a little too hard, and I began overflowing the resin into the printer, which we then had to clean up behind the printer. Yeah, so here, that's kind of going on.
There's Jessy going in there. He's saying, okay, I got this.
And I ended up squeezing it hard enough that I overflowed the resin. And we ended up having to clean that up a little bit.
Just more paper towel.
Yeah, more paper towels. You go through them. But yeah, I mean, if we had just put that in there and let it like drip out into the vat, it would have taken an hour to fill that vat.
It would have.
So you definitely want to fill your vat in this printer beforehand.
Now, I don't know how much I wasted in cleaning this thing. It's the number of times that I've actually cleaned it. How much resin that was wasted that wasn't actually a print.
Honestly, resin is kind of like ink toner.
You mean once it gets over, it gets all over?
Once it just gets all over, but it's not really that much you're usually wasting or wiping up. It just seems that way, at least from my own experience.
But now the entire bottle fills in the vat.
Yeah.
And doesn't hit the full line.
Okay.
Almost, but doesn't quite.
Mm-hmm. So, like I said, we're just getting some things adjusted here.
And cleaning up the mess.
Filling up the vat. And I think we actually start the print here pretty soon. So, other than the issue or issues with getting it to properly level, and finding the new method, or I shouldn't even say new method, I should say traditional method of leveling this printer is what ended up working. You've got the Rook printed now. You're going to go home, cure that tonight. What do you think you intend on printing to put this thing to a test? You have anything in mind yet for that?
I do. Our coworkers, right?
Uh-huh.
There's a print that was done of Yoda.
Okay.
With a cane.
Okay.
I love that print.
So are you going to blow it up real big? I want to see this thing pushed to the max.
The only thing I'm worried about is that Yoda's pretty heavy.
We're going to hollow it out first, right?
Isn't that hollowed out the one that he made?
Mm-mm. Nope.
Okay.
He makes them solid.
Because that was heavy.
Yeah, he makes them solid.
I don't know how much weight could be hung from the plate.
It depends on your supports. There is a lot of pressure between that plate, or a lot of stick between that plate and the print. As long as you've got good enough supports, it can handle pretty heavy stuff. I've seen some pretty hefty things hanging from those plates.
Have you?
Yeah. Now, granted, this is a 15-inch plate, or 13 point something, I think.
13.5 or something like that.
So it is a little bit larger than what I'm used to, but I think it'd be fine so long as you hollow it out. If you hollow it, a much better experience. You have less likelihood of it dropping down or having issues. But definitely support it well. Support it from the back. Make sure you don't do any supports on the front with it. And on the base, the feet, things like that. You can do really heavy supports on the feet. That'll help kind of hold it, because you can easily sand those down and things like that.
But it's supposed to be leaning at like a 45-degree angle, right?
You want to try and print a 45. That's usually the best printing happens at roughly the 45-degree angle, because you're tilting it in a way that you're not putting all the pressure or all the vacuum in one specific pool. Whenever it goes down, hits, and then comes back up, you tend to kind of move that around by going down at that 45-degree angle. I have printed things upright, not had issues, but they're usually smaller things. But anything like big sculptures or characters, things like that, you want to try and do the 45-degree. You tend to get better results.
Now, I know it comes with a scraper, and I know that I use sandpaper now on that thing, so I guess it's not very delicate.
No, that plate is not delicate at all.
So I guess scraping the stuff off of it, if you have to, hard.
Let me tell you, and you know, this is going to get interesting. There are certain prints I've done. I wear very thick gloves. Okay, there are certain prints that I have done that are so stuck to the board that I take the scraper and I've got the scraper up here and the plate's down here, and I am hammering almost with this scraper trying to get through it. And I have put so much pressure on my hand that I actually ended up holding against the blade of the scraper, and with the amount of force I was using, ended up hurting myself in my hand. But I didn't even realize it up until I went later on and realized that I'd cut through my glove, and when I dipped my hand in the alcohol, I then realized that I had cut through my hand. So no, these plates are not delicate by any means. I have taken hammers to the back of the scrapers and hammered things off of this plate.
Well, here's the plate going into the resin for the first time here.
Yep.
And, you know, it was a new printer until this time right here. And not knowing what was going to be in our future, or my future, on this was absolutely, you know, it's just, you never know what's going to happen in our world of 3D printing. You know, we're so used to, you know, regular printing with plastics that the bed cools down and it pops right off and you walk away with your print.
Yep.
No big deal.
In fact, I walked upstairs this morning after doing some printing for the new P1P, and because I'm building a case for it. And when I walked upstairs, the bed was cool. All the parts were already popped off, just sitting on the bed, and I just kind of just scraped them off real easily. And you move on.
You do.
with this, you know, there's so much work after the fact in resin printing, and I like I said, I think we talked about that closer to the end of the last video that we don't have the audio for anymore. But there's more work, so much more work in the post-processing than the actual printing process.
And cleaning.
And cleaning. Well, I consider cleaning and post-processing to be the same thing.
I mean, yeah.
You're just not used to cleaning.
I'm not used to having to have an hour's extra time of cleaning yourself up. I mean, what do you suggest? Like, you know, my resin is in the vat, right? Mm-hmm. I have the door closed to the vat, which is fully enclosed, which makes it a lot easier.
Yeah.
But should you leave that resin there? And if you're just gonna, you know, I mean, cleaning that thing every day just to get the resin out would be ridiculous.
No, I've left now again, my printers are in the back of my garage. There's no light. There's no natural sunlight that hits them. I don't have to worry about UV rays, anything like that. It's a dark, damp, cool place. I shouldn't say damp. It's not, you know, that much moisture in there because that would be bad for the printers. Yes. But it's a dark, cool place. And I leave my resin in for weeks, okay? Now, I have left my resin in for months at a time before, and I do come out, and it can get a little jelly in certain parts, like that sticks to the FEP sheet. So I did have to drain it out, you know, scrape everything out of it. But it's not as if it didn't stick to anything. It wasn't much of a problem, and the majority of the resin was still fine. It's just a little bit jelly.
So the jelly part, when you poured it out into the funnel, just stayed in the funnel.
It just stayed in the funnel. And
then you pour the rest back in.
Exactly. And I printed right away with it. I had no issues with it. So yeah, I mean, you can leave it in. It's not recommended to leave it in for more than a couple weeks if you're not going to use it. You know, take care of the resin. You pay a lot of money for it. You don't want it to go bad. Or if you're, you know, closing up for the winter time, like, you know, obviously I take a lot of mine, bring my resins inside for the winter because it gets very cold in that garage.
It does.
So, which is something I got to work on. I need to get a heater out there.
You do, so you can do like all year printing.
Yeah, that's the one hard part is I don't do resin prints a whole lot in the wintertime.
And since, talking about the vat cleaning and stuff, and since this is, I've already been through multiple attempts of printing, the load and unload of the resin and the smell of the resin, cleaning it, I could see after cleaning the vat and putting it back in the bottle, cleaning it and everything cleaned, the smell went away.
Yeah.
Right? But with this being closed up and everything, and I'm going to take the screws off the back and put a
filter
system,
an actual filter
system
okay.
on the back of that. So we jumped ahead here to the part where we're unboxing the wash and cure station.
Yeah, so this is Elegoo's answer for the wash and cure, correct?
Yes.
Now, when we first looked at this, I was actually under the impression this was a wash and cure, much like the AnyCubic, which is one device. I didn't even look at the pictures on the box, if I'm being honest. Whereas it's one device. We were a little surprised with this one.
I was, and I thought wash and cure station means one device.
Yep.
You wash it and you pull a bucket out. I thought the other, even in the picture when I purchased it, I thought the picture was showing the bucket part of it, right? And you would just pull that out and for the wash.
Honestly, and you'll see when we open it, at first it does look that way. Because I will give Elegoo this. The way that they packaged this device, they made it in a way that it used almost every piece of that box, and you pull it out all as one piece, and then you have to rip it down into its two separate units.
Yes.
Yeah, so I thought that was kind of...
That packaging, when that box came in, I says, this is the box? There can't be anything in this box.
Yeah.
Right?
Now, one thing I do want to point out while we're waiting till we actually open this to talk about it is this unit is a little bit smaller.
It is.
And you have a very large print bed.
I do.
And so, for those of you at home watching this, we were actually contemplating even opening this box.
I think that's what we're talking about right here.
Yes.
It's like, am I opening this?
So we're contemplating whether or not we want to actually open this, but you did need a wash and cure station. And we talked about that if you get to the point where you get such large models in the future,
let's buy another one.
You'll upgrade to something like the AnyCubic, or if Elegoo comes out with their new one, Elegoo, we're talking to you, to make a larger unit that goes for this printer, where you can actually submerge the entire thing.
This is their largest on their site, because that's what I look for, largest, right? And talking to Elegoo, again, like Jessy just did, is that, if you come out with a printer like the Jupiter, you should come out with a wash and cure station that will match it.
Yes. Because one of the things that now the round plate in the cure station it was about 8 inches round from what I could tell, what I remember anyway. So you are completely limited to what you have the capability of curing in that plate.
But tell them what you found in there that was really cool if something is bigger.
This was really cool. Now, so it's not so much as if it's bigger, but that I haven't seen this on other wash and cure stations. It was kind of unique in that aspect, and you'll see it here later on, was a handheld wand, which plugs into the cure station. Which was kind of cool. I mean, I haven't seen that. I've seen handheld wands. They make some really, really nice ones.
Flashlights.
Yeah, they make flashlight versions of it and some larger ones. And so, it's not unique in that way of what it is, but the fact that it plugged right into the cure station was kind of nice.
Had its own switch?
Yes, had its own switch. Didn't have to worry about buying one, separately. But so... Here, we're finally taking the wash and cure station out.
It wouldn't come out that easy.
No, and we didn't want to break anything because we hadn't really seen what was inside here yet. So, and as you see here, to us at this point in time, we're still thinking right now,
it's a single unit.
This is one device. And to us, this looks like one device.
Even right now, it looks like one device, right? We're like, here's our one device.
So that was the little wand I was discussing earlier. So here I'm undoing. I believe this is the cure station. So this was a little bit of assembly required.
A little, not too much.
So we had to take off some of the films and assemble a couple scripts, which we had a little fun competition.
We did. We did.
Who got their side in first? And I was far behind most of the time. Well,
I used electric, right?
No, you didn't use the electric one. You used the Linus Tech Tips.
Oh, Linus Tech Tips one, right? Yes.
So, right now, again, we're still under the assumption that this is still one device.
Can you tell right here?
Nope.
You can't tell right here right now.
It's kind of funny because I was looking at this unit and I'm like, where does the magnetics sit on this? Because I couldn't find the magnetics on this unit, and I'm like, where are they? And so I'm not saying this to you right now, but I was thinking this the entire time on how exactly that unit is going to sit there, and then you start pulling everything out here.
There's the basket, right? Which you should have a basket.
Mm-hmm. And so I'm taking that off.
You're thinking I'm taking
that off so that we can set the unit on here. And I'm looking, and the more I look, I'm like, wait a minute, hold on. I'm scratching my head at this point, like I'm confused now on what's going on. And those are the lights that we had our little competition with. Those are the UV Cure lights. There's one on each side, which is nice. And one thing I want to point out about this one is this unit does have an underside UV Cure built right into it. Now, the Anycubic one, granted, it's bigger, and it did feel a little more sturdy. I'm going to be honest, the Anycubic one feels a little more sturdy than the Elegoo one did.
It's a lot bigger.
It is bigger. I meant in general, construction quality-wise. But this one had an underside Cure light on it, which mine does not have. Mine uses a mirror underneath of it that reflects the UV light back up.
What's your brand?
Anycubic.
Okay, you do have an Anycubic.
Yeah, for the wash and cure, yeah. My printer itself is a Frozen. But, at this point we now realize it's two different devices. We see the wash station and the cure station here. The wash station, actually, it didn't end up being as bad as we initially thought in its size.
No, it's a lot bigger than I really thought the box looked like it could fit.
So, there we go. There is our completed wash station. Not much to a wash station, right? You fill it up with alcohol. You have the basket inside. You set your things in the basket. If this was to match the proper printer that it goes with, you can actually take the entire plate off of the printer
and stick it in there.
Dip the whole plate in.
That's what I would like.
Yes, and so really with my printer, I can do that with mine, with my station. I can take my whole plate off, dip the whole plate in. And
just dip it down in there and let it go.
And I put a special bracket in there that holds the plate in place, and then it just sits there and washes. Now, I don't do that very often, but on occasion.
So since I've already had this wash station running, it goes off like a jet. Turns it into like a sonic wash.
Yes.
I mean, this thing spins so fast.
Yep.
I'm like,
it creates a little funnel inside.
It spins and it sounds like a very high pitch whine of it spinning so fast.
Yep.
And it does agitate everything in there.
Mm-hmm. They do work pretty well. Now, granted, and we're going to talk a little bit here that you want the wash station. But the wash station's number one, okay, in this process. After you do that automated wash station, you move on to a complete, a separate bucket that you're going to put the print in with different alcohol, new alcohol,
not dirty.
And that alcohol is it gets a lot less dirty quicker. It gets a lot dirtier. Not as quickly as the first station does, because you're gonna dump that first one, every 100 prints or so, you'll dump that one. But this one, the second one, where you really clean it, you take that light bristle brush. You don't want to use heavy bristles. Heavy bristles will scratch your prints because they're still in an uncured state. and brush them as good as you can in all the little crevices and the marks. Because what people don't often understand with this is post-processing is more work than the actual printing. And to properly post-process, you need to clean your prints really, really well. A lot of people that complain in resin printing, oh, well, it doesn't have as much detail as I thought. Did you clean your print? Well, I wiped it down, I threw it through the auto wash, then I cured it. That's not what I asked. Did you clean your print? Right? Cleaning the print properly, using those bristle brushes, especially on the detail. So all those real fine details, and think about a really high quality character that you're going to print.
With a lot of design inside.
So much detail in it.
Yeah.
Right? The resin is half cured in that detail. Okay? It's not going to come out with the auto wash. The auto wash is to get the majority of resin off the print. The auto wash is not the end all be all of properly post-processing your prints. That's a manual process. You cannot get around that. There's nothing out there that's going to work as well. Now, with that said, you can get an ultrasonic cleaner.
Right.
And the ultrasonic cleaners are very, very loud. If you have sensitive ears, you're not going to want one in your house. I personally want one, but I cannot stand the sound. My wife works in jewelry, and that's what they use to clean jewelry with, and I cannot stand the sound of an ultrasonic.
I've seen that on video already. And it doesn't do, that's all it does.
Yeah, and you can't hear, honestly, when you hear on a video on YouTube, like, you cannot hear the sound, what it actually produces. It's this high-pitched squeal, and it's just nonstop. So, yes, you can use an ultrasonic. That will definitely help, but there is still nothing as good as a manual cleaning of that print with toothbrushes and fine bristle brushes and getting into all those crevices. And what you're doing is you're scraping away all of that half-cured resin that shouldn't be there in the first place. And then once you clean that really well, you dip it in, you shake out the print, you're going to pull the print out, and you're going to see so much more detail on that print than you thought.
So when it does like the small designs in, let's say, Spider-Man suit or something like that, it's leaving unfinished resin in those.
It's like right in the crevice. Like, so if you think about all the lines on his suit, right?
Yes.
It's going to have a little bit of that uncured resin kind of against all those lines, and it'll look okay, right? It'll look good. You can clean it up and cure it, and but if you really want that to stand out and you want those lines to be defined and crisp and clean, you're going to take a brush to all those lines, and it's going to scrape away all that uncured or half cured kind of resin to reveal all the rest of the detail.
That one brush that I got with a wash and cure station.
Yes.
With the brush on
that's too fine. That's too fine. That won't actually do much of anything.
What is that for?
I don't know.
Okay.
It looked like a paintbrush to me, to be honest. It was a tiny little paintbrush.
It does look like a tiny little paint. I didn't know if it was whether to wipe the resin off, right? Or is it to wash to clean?
That came with the printer, right? Not the wash and cure?
Correct.
That came with the printer.
I believe so.
It could be maybe for wiping up the traces that come off the bottle.
Okay.
Would be my best guess. Like, as opposed to using paper towels, just kind of take that brush. I don't know why. Just use paper towel.
Just use paper towel.
Just use paper towel. But yeah, so right now we're unboxing the little light that it comes with, the little UV cure light. And it plugs into the front here, you'll see right next to me, and gets its power directly from that unit, which was nice.
That was nice. I didn't know it came with that.
No, I was honestly surprised. That was a nice little surprise.
I didn't know there was 2 units, so it was one surprise after another with this unboxing.
Now, the only thing I don't like about this, and actually I thought more about this over the week, to be honest. I did think more about this. In this video, if you could have heard the original audio, I was complaining about the footprint, the fact you had to have 2 different devices. Okay? Now, with my wash and cure, when I take the unit off of the wash unit off of my station, I do have to set it somewhere.
You do, the bucket.
So I still need that footprint on my desk. Somewhere. In order to do that. So I thought about that statement a little bit, and you still need the same amount of.
Now, if it took a long time to wash and cure these things, but it doesn't, right? You're talking about minutes.
Yes, the curing. I mean, the wash station you put in for 10 to 15 minutes on a wash. Usually, your hand washing on step 2 is going to be anywhere from 5 to 20 minutes on the hand wash, and then you're going to put it in the cure station anywhere from 2 to 10 minutes.
And do you do that with the other pieces onto it, or do you take them off first?
I remember you asked me this question last time.
I did.
Both. So I know that's a confusing answer. There is no right way to do it. And depending on who you talk to, they're going to say, remove the supports first because they're in a weakened state and you can remove them easier. It'll have less impact, right?
Right.
Then there are others that'll say, leave the supports on because whenever it's done curing, you'll be able to cut them off easier because they're more brittle to the end. Now, I have done it both ways.
And?
I can say that doing it beforehand is a little messier because you got to get your hands in there with the resin and it's getting all over your hands. And sometimes it can be difficult. It can slip out of your hands. Resin's very slippery, especially when you're with your latex gloves. Or not latex.
Non-latex.
Nitrile.
Gloves, yes.
Not latex. Do not use latex. We already went over that. Nitrile. It's very slippery in your hands. You can drop it. I have dropped prints from my hands before while doing that when trying to rip the supports off of them.
Because they're bendy, right?
Yes, well, exactly. They're kind of bendy, so they're easier to remove.
They're not snappy. They're bendy.
Exactly. But when I've had them cured, which is why I don't do them as often cured, is A, they're harder to get off when it's cured. There's a lot more pressure you have to put on it. And B, when it comes to small areas, like think like a sword on a character or something like that, when it dries, you have to apply more pressure and you're more likely to break that
because everything becomes snappy.
Correct. So
breakable easy.
Unless you have a little bit of ABS mixed in with it. So, I mean, I do usually print my resin with a little tiny bit of ABS. I shouldn't say ABS. ABS-like resin. There's no actual ABS resin. It's properties of ABS that you can mix in with your resins. So I do tend to keep a little bit of flex in most of my prints anyway.
That's good. And I want to tell everybody out there that don't forget to please like and subscribe to the channel. It really helps us out. The channel becomes more popular and these videos get shown to more people if you do like and subscribe, and we're asking you to do that.
So at this point, we've got the alcohol here. This is 99% alcohol you're going to fill. So did you fill the whole bucket with the 99% alcohol?
I did not.
What did you end up doing?
I took it up. I took 3 bottles of it. I had 4. I filled up with 3. I kept one in spare.
Always keep a bottle of alcohol. I know we didn't say that actually. Always keep a bottle of alcohol to help you clean the product. Since
I was down to 1, I like to be, and I went out and bought 2 more gallons.
Gallons,
not gallons. And so I have now 2 gallons, and I would think I ordered them in a gallon bucket and the gallon jugs. They came in the same size as these, but like 20 of them.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So I have a lot of alcohol.
No. So I get mine you can get it from Sam's Club or the other popular one, Costco, depending on where you are in the country. And I get 2 of like those. 2 containers of what you usually use in the house. It's only 92%, I think, is what 92
That's what the normal,
93. It's something like that.
Ones are.
And I can get 2 of those for like $2 or $3.
Somebody said to me though, over and over again, it's got to be 99%, 99%. It was like drove into my head, so I had to go out looking for 99%.
The higher percentage, the better it's going to clean. It's going to last you a little bit longer because it's more concentrated. Of course, it makes sense. But when you're talking monetary and using it in such great amounts that it requires for resin printing, 99% can become very expensive very quick.
Like the paper towels?
With a little, yes. It could come very expensive. People honestly underestimate the cost of resin printing. They think they get the printer, they get the wash and cure, and I'm done. There's nothing else that goes into this. And no one factors, and honestly, I do resin printing, I sell resin printing. I have a chart that is the base cost for the resin print. Then it's got my gloves and how many pairs of gloves I'm going to use. It's got the alcohol. It's got the paper towels. It's got the trash and the waste disposal fee. I mean, there's a lot of different things that go into resin printing that people do not understand, that is extra additional costs.
I do now because you told me that paper towels are something I'm going to have to use. So I ordered. Now, normally I'm a name brand guy. Okay.
No, you don't buy name brand paper
towels. And I went out and bought the Walmart special.
Yes.
The same ones we use here, actually. And I ordered 12
there you go.
thing of them. And then I looked at the gloves. Right? When you first open up a box of gloves, it's like piled in there, right? When you pull out that first glove, 15 come with it, right?
Yep.
Because they're all...
Yep.
It's already loose.
How many have you gone through?
Well, I've had to clean this thing, 10 times.
That's true. I guess you did have some difficulties at first. Yeah, and so in that respect, they do make washable, non-disposable gloves, ones that are much, much thicker. You can get a pair for like $15-$20, something like that. I don't like them because I want to be able... I don't want to have to wash my gloves every time. I don't want to be washing that down the sink. Again, don't be washing your resins down the sink. And so I don't want to waste putting more resin in my alcohol at the same time. So I just want to, rip my gloves off, throw them in the trash, and move on.
I did find myself, though, when I see the shiny resin on the glove, I'm grabbing paper towel and trying to wash it off the glove. Right?
Just don't worry about it. Honestly, it's something, it's so awkward to get used to. In my station, I have a computer and I've got some other things, and I've got tape around my resin printer. When I'm there, I have my gloves on. My gloves stay on. They do not come off. And so I have to remember that I'm using my laptop with a little bit of residual resin on my hand, because I do paper towel them off a little bit.
Right.
But I still have residual resin on my hands.
Yes.
And so now it's to the point where my laptop is sort of kind of coated in resin.
Okay.
Residual resin. So I have to remind myself every time I go over there, I just got to put gloves on right away. Just put my gloves on and I can work.
You don't clean it?
No. And so I can work. Now, that is, on occasion, I do take an alcohol wipe and I'll wipe down the countertop. I'll wipe down the laptop and things that I touch commonly. I'll wipe down the cases and things like that. So I do clean it from time to time, but I don't clean it daily. So I just have to get in that habit of always putting on gloves when I go out there, because it's too much. It's when you're out there working and you're doing a whole bunch of different stuff, you don't want to keep just throwing your gloves away every 10 minutes. Yeah. And so you got to get used to that feel of the resin. But I know what you're talking about. It's a very annoying feel at first.
It was just the glossiness, and I know this is resin and it doesn't need to be on my hands.
Yep.
So I grab paper towel and it comes off pretty good.
It does.
Off the glove.
Yeah. Now, resin on the skin does not come off as easy. If you get resin on your skin, make sure that you're going to use a detergent type, like Dawn detergent, or even if you don't have any of that, you can use clothing detergent, something like a pumice stone, what do you call it, like Gojo, kind of, that'll kind of dig in, and you want to get that off. A lot of people think, ooh, good idea, let me use the alcohol. Let me tell you why it's a bad idea. If you take alcohol and begin wiping your hands,
right,
you are diluting the resin to the point your skin can immediately absorb it. Okay, and a lot of people they think it's a good idea. Like, oh, alcohol cleans resin. Let's use alcohol for my hands. No, that is the exact opposite of what you want to do. It'll make it absorb right into your skin.
Because it's thick right now, right?
Yes. So it'll make it absorb right into your skin. Do not use alcohol to clean your hands. Use a detergent type product. And you can wash that. Again, that's residual resin. That's fine to wash down the sink with detergent. Now,
what about disposing? I also saw that if you have resin on your paper towels, right? And you said you take it to a special place and have them. What about actually curing all those paper towels, and the resin is now null and void on those.
I have never cured paper towels.
But you can.
I don't know if you can. You'd be hiding UV light from a lot of it. I don't know how. I don't know. Now I'm curious. I don't want to cure paper towels.
See?
I'm kind of curious now.
I actually took a couple pieces and put in that.
Did you?
In the cure station.
How did that go? Did they actually cure? Did they tense up and cure?
It cured.
Yeah.
So because the paper towel lets light through, so it cured, and I just put it in the trash then after that because it's cured. It's done.
Like, was the paper towel hard after that?
It wasn't. It's not that much. It's just residue.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
It's just cured residue, and everybody that I saw that what they do is they throw it in a sheet outside in the sun.
Yeah.
Let the sun cure it.
Yep.
And then you can go in the trash without having to worry about finding disposals.
I guess you can do that. You can do it with your gloves, though.
And the gloves?
Yeah. How are you going to cure everything?
So the gloves, you're not going to get light through.
Yeah.
And when I take my gloves off, they
go inside
long time ago, I was in medical, right?
Uh-huh.
And I know to use a glove to take a glove, right? So I use the glove, and then I take that glove, and I use that glove to take off this glove, so I'm not touching anything. Mm-hmm. And that, that the resin's on the inside.
Yeah.
There's nothing you're going to do with it. That's got to go to a special, place.
So, and again, you want to take that to your local, you want to call up a local biohazard and waste products company. They're all over cities, and, they're not uncommon. And just ask them, what are the rates, how much can you bring, and things like that. It's honestly not that expensive to properly dispose of, but it is something, again, you want to think about. You want to make sure you're doing it responsibly. And, if you're a person who's going to do this commercially, that's just another factor of what it costs to make resin prints. People often wonder why resin prints are so expensive. Why am I paying $100 for something that only costs you, this $4 of resin to make? Well, that's because it took $30 worth of product to make it, and then about 4 hours of my time to clean it and properly, post-process everything. And so my 4 hours of time for post-processing and cleaning things and handling the waste disposal and all that, well, that equates to $100. I'm sorry.
I believe we're about to end the show.
We have gotten to that point. So here we have the wash and cure station. We've got, the printer is now printing successfully.
It is printing successfully.
This was a long way. We got our audio re-recorded.
I don't know if anybody that I've talked to that took a week to get their first print. Right?
I'm sure other people have had the same issues, and I'm hoping that this is found by people having those same issues, and that they also, can see this and they can get through their issues based on what your experiences were. Overall, I think your experiences were pretty good.
They were. I mean, it's hard to actually get me disappointed or, fed up where I'm not going to go forward with it. So I was able to, overcome.
Yep.
Get it done, and with your help.
Yep.
And, I've already bought 3 more bottles of resin.
Yep.
So.
Well, I hope you enjoy the printer. Let me know. And
I guess I need files now, right?
Go on Thingiverse, grab some stuff. Go on Printables, wherever you want to get your stuff at, and let me know how it goes.
Okay, so we know the one thing that we have to say here at the end of this thing. It's coming up.
Always.
And we'll try to actually get it. Stay awesome.